Hey folks, this is Best in Slot. Welcome back to our Planet Zoo Tropical Pack Speed Build series. In the last video, we built our fossil habitat destroyed as the tree collapses inwards and breaks apart the metal and the mesh. And we've got this glass viewing area down here. We've got our happy fossils inside there somewhere. The reason we're starting here and not a time lapse, I will explain now. So this is the next build. We're building a habitat for the Asian water monitor, I believe is the name. Let me double check that actually. I'm not 100% sure. I think it's the Asian water monitor. Yes, the Asian water monitor is going to be our next animal. Look at him, looking adorable. And basically, I hate my recording program. It hates me, and it killed the first hour of the recording. Yes, this took an hour. So I just wanted to show you what I'd already built before we hop into the time lapse. The crocodile is obviously, well, it's meant to be a crocodile. It's not finished yet. We're going to work on that now in a second and finish that off. It's meant to be sort of a cheesy roadside zoo sort of thing. I know it doesn't really go with everything else. I'm going to talk about that as we go through the video. And hopefully we can make it look like it blends in a little bit better. I've got a pretty cool idea for how we're going to do this build. So, yeah, right, anyways, we'll get the time lapse started. I just wanted to show you what I'd already done, so the time lapse didn't just start here, and I've moved to a new recording program, so it should hopefully no longer be an issue. Let's get started. Right then, here we go, back working on our reptile house kind of thing. We're going to build the crocodile first of all. So this was inspired by, there is a roadside zoo in America called Elderwood Zoo and Reptile House, and they're not accredited or anything, they're very unofficial. Apparently they do good work according to their website that I briefly glimpsed at. I've got no idea how legit they are, but it's a very cheesy looking little roadside zoo. It's this big metal building, styled very similar to this one here, and then there's this crocodile kind of like hanging over the entrance, so you have to walk through the crocodile's mouth to gain entrance. And I thought that was a really fun idea. I thought that was like very appropriate, the kind of thing that Barry would do. Absolutely. So I thought we'd do it. So I'm going to build some gums here for the interior of the crocodile's mouth. And yeah, so it doesn't fit in with the rest of the zoo. Now we're going to destroy it a little bit throughout this video. This is where like all the work in this video came from, is destroying this bloody metal building. But my cannon, my head cannon, I suppose, and it can be, it's my cannon, I wrote it, it's up to me, is that basically Barry started with a roadside zoo. He started with this cheesy little kind of ropey reptile house, right? This metal shack building here, this reptile house. And that's what he began with. And it did pretty well. And he got a little bit of money, and then he got a hookup with some exotic animal dealer or something, and oh hey, I've got a fossa, do you want a couple of fossas? I'm like, yeah, all right then. So basically he started with this building and then kind of expanded from there into the rest of the zoo. Now I didn't want to just build a reptile house. We are going to do the interior of the reptile house at some point, but I wanted to do something a little different for the monitor, and I just had this idea in my head. I saw this image of this roadside reptile house and thought, okay, how do I make that interesting rather than just building a water monitor habitat inside it? So what we're going to do is the reptile house is built on a concrete foundation, which I've just seen there on the left hand side. We're going to break into that. We're going to have a crack in there. And the idea is that, we've had this turmoil in the area. This place is cursed, as we've been through with the fossas. And basically the tank, the bottom of the tank has kind of spilled out into a crack in the ground nearby. So the water monitors have escaped from the reptile house out through the concrete and into the area that you're actually going to view them in this build. I just thought it was more interesting, basically, and I think it ends up looking okay. But we will see when we get there. Doing a little bit more work on the house first of all. A little crocodile. He needs a name. Feel free to leave suggestions for my crocodile. We didn't ever do, I believe, the American alligator, if I remember correctly. So I'm not against the idea of like having some actual habitats inside the reptile house and building like a little reptile house. I'm definitely open to that idea. But I just wanted to do something a little different for the water monitors themselves. Something that kind of lends itself to the story of this place. My throat is absolutely killing me today, so I do apologize. But you can see what I'm doing here. So we've got the kind of gap in the concrete, and I'm just going to use little concrete blocks here to kind of build a shredded, broken little area. There's been a rupture, there's been a explosion, there's been a earthquake, whatever it is, and it's kind of made this gap. I know it looks a little cheesy and stuff. It's kind of hard to make it look otherwise, but it'll do. I'm doing a little sign. A lot of this was, as I say, inspired by Elderwood. I did have a bit of a problem in that I wish it felt more Indonesian and like it fit with the rest of the zoo. But I feel like when it's destroyed, when you see it covered in ivy, when you see it covered in vines and when you've got all the destroyed little details on it, I think it fits in a lot better. It's never going to fit in entirely, and part of me thinks maybe I should have just built it in the Indonesian style, but I don't think it would carry that same aesthetique that I'm really pushing for with this. So I'm pretty happy with it. Don't know what we're doing after this. Still don't know what I'm doing for the sloth. Don't know how the gibbon factors into this whatsoever. Not a clue. Yeah, I've kind of built myself into, because you have to go through the reptile house to get to the rest of the zoo. So I've kind of built myself into a corner here a little bit. We kind of have to do the reptile house next. I suppose we could just kind of have the shell and work on it later. I'd like to do the alligator, and I'd like to do, and obviously we have to build like an empty water monitor habitat in there with the crack, and that'll be like the water's flooded out of it. And little things, I'm not sure like logically this makes any sense, but I really liked the idea of having a sewage drainage pipe kind of exposed by this sort of rupturing in the earth, and that would be part of the monitor habitat, just so it felt again kind of like with the red river hog, where the world has been destroyed a little bit and they've kind of developed their own habitat in the area, and the council have come in and they're going to put up like a little fence, and they're going to put up the little info panels again like with the red river hog. But even though you're not technically meant to even go in this zoo in the first place, that's neither here nor there. But that's kind of the idea. That they've taken this habitat as their own. They're making the best of the situation, and they've taken this little area for their own, is the plan. And as per usual, most of the video is going to be spent putting down foliage and cracks and various different things. This is another one of those ones where I wasn't happy with it for a really long time. I feel like that's a very consistent thing in my life now. I'm not totally thrilled with the habitat itself. I do like the surrounding area. I think it's looking pretty great. But we'll see how things go. Now, while we're nice and early in the video, I want to talk to you very quickly about something. Obviously, it's been a few weeks since our last video. It was meant to be last week. I don't want to spend 3 weeks per video going forward. That was never part of the plan. However, you know, there's good reason I don't upload lots of Planet Zoo. It's just not what my channel audience, generally speaking, is looking for. Obviously, there's exceptions. Some of you at home who watch every video, I super appreciate that. And the reason I still do this game is because people love it. Some of you out there, this is your favourite series, and you know I want to keep supporting that. You know, you support my channel and watch my channel, so I want to give you content that you enjoy. But so I just want to, I don't want to keep like talking about this kind of thing. So I just want to say very quickly, if you do want to see more Planet Zoo, it's really important that you leave comments down below and that you hit the like button as well. Take 2 seconds out of your life, do those 2 things. The video gets better engagement, it looks better on YouTube, I get punished less by YouTube, basically like poorly performing videos. YouTube likes to punish you for that and diminishes your other videos as a result. So just those little things that up the video a little bit would go a long way to making me feel better about uploading Planet Zoo, you know what I mean? Anyways, I'm gonna probably keep mentioning that. Just to block it out, I had a slight awkwardness, like we're in a slightly weird building position, so I just kind of, I'm struggling to fill out the size of the zoo in a way. This is one of those habitats that's going to look a lot better when we get to the other side. The other side at the moment is this big pale plain. It doesn't look very attractive. But hopefully as we continue developing the zoo, it's going to come together. Building up this bit here, you often see sort of rebar inside of concrete. I'm not going to say this is all logical, okay? I just wanted it to look good and for it to resemble what you think it might look like. It's a very common thing in animal animation, dinosaur animation, you know, monster animation, stuff like that. Because you can't always base it on real life, especially with dinosaurs, especially with monsters, you're kind of more just trying to build something that looks like what people expect it to look like. There was a Planet Zoo developer who talked about this, in that there's an animal that moves in a very unusual way, or sounds very unusual, and it's not what people think that animal sounds like, or something like that. So they had to put a real one in the game, but they were conscientious of the fact that people would have expected something else. And you kind of need to accommodate both. Or something, I don't remember. Anyways, so we're going to have this flooded area at the bottom with the crack in the wall and the pipe on the left, and some sort of debris floating around and stuff like that. And then this kind of staggered rocky outcrop into this sandy little beach area for our monitors to hang out. A little bit of foliage. I really tried to hold back on the foliage this time around because it just didn't make sense for the habitat. I love my foliage. I want to put billions of pieces of foliage and everything, but I really didn't put a single blade of grass in this entire habitat, which I think may be the first time I've ever done that in my life. So it's it's a big moment for me. Tons of little faux rocks. Those faux rocks, you know, that come in like little bitty bits that looks a little cracked, is my favourite rock in the game. It's beloved. Little black circle in there, just so it looks like the tunnel goes on further, and it works really well. It's because it's just about deep enough that you can't really see in there, you know what I mean? I think it looks really cool. I'm not suggesting it's realistic. I'm not sure how it makes sense that the pipe would be exposed like that because of a crack in the earth, when clearly the pipe's meant to always look like that. That doesn't make sense, but that's okay. It looks cool, and that's what matters. I did try some new stuff today. I've mixed up the rocks a lot more. You can see I'm using 2 different colours of rock there. We're going to bring in a third later on. It's something I probably don't do enough, is mixing up rock, colour and texture. So I want to try to focus on that a little bit more. Trying to find more trees I can put inside, but really struggling to find a tree that sort of legitimately looks okay in there. And I'm going to start building up this rock wall over here on the side, and then we're going to hang some foliage over the top. I saw, it's Caesar Crates who does this beautifully. They'll have like a mud wall or a mud plinth in the middle of their habitat, and then foliage sort of hanging and draping over the top, and it always looks so beautiful when they do it, and I can't make it look anything like that. However, I was inspired by their work to do something vaguely similar here with that was too many obviously, but with the ferns and various different plants, kind of have them hanging over the top of the rock wall, and threw some bristlecone pines in there as well. I wanted, again, we're trying to go for a slightly destroyed feel here. We want it to feel a little ramshackle, mainly because I love the word ramshackle. But yeah, I think it looks quite nice actually, having them, you know, sink some palm trees down there, have them hanging sort of over the edge, spilling over the top. Again, we're trying to always create a sense of depth. There isn't stuff there, but we can make it feel like there's more there than you can see. That's always what we want to happen, really. Like the zoo would go on for longer, like the world goes on for longer beyond this point, is what I'm trying to say, basically. So yeah, I'm knocking this wall down here. We'll build that up eventually. I'll stick some rock on there. It's going to look very pretty, probably. I've fallen once again in love with the tree ferns. We need like a normal fern though. We don't have just like a fern you can stick on the ground, you know? You can sink a tree fern into the ground, and there's a lady fern. But where's just like, I just want a fern. I just want a ground fern that you can plonk down and it looks like a fern. I want to stop saying the word fern. Building up a little rock wall here. This side is going to be viewable from the guest side as well, but I wanted it to feel a little bit more staffy, I guess. Not the dog. I just wanted it to feel a little bit more, less guest orientated, I suppose, on that far side. And doing the same again, hanging some plant life over the top of the rock wall. It's a new thing for me. I just like trying out new techniques, stealing them from other YouTubers. Caesar, definitely go check Caesar Crates if you want to watch some really good Planet Zoo stuff. Their Planet Zoo's work's been really popping off lately, actually. It's really good to see. I had a real problem here. This path would not go in. It just refused for so long. It just kept saying, like, what are you possibly obstructed by? There's nothing there. I deleted the fence, I deleted the path, I deleted the water, and just everything was freaking out. I don't know what I changed that made it eventually work, but eventually I managed to get it in there. We've all been there, right, folks? Initially I was going to have sort of a running water effect, as you can see here, into the pipe. I ended up changing this later on, realizing I wanted the water to look a little bit more interesting, throw some debris in there, and then I kind of wanted it to feel more, it's meant to feel stagnant, you know, it's meant to feel like this is water that just sits there forever. The monitors love it, they're living life, but it's not nice water. It's not water that you would go and swim in as a human, you know? So I want debris floating around there, I want it to be dirty, and I don't want any water flow. A little bit from the right-hand side, from that cracked tank inside the reptile house, but other than that, no water flow at all. So we'll be getting rid of that rather awkwardly later on. Always remember, if you're going to place like a water effect and you're sinking it down into the ground, just put it in a group and attach that group to something outside of the water, because you're going to make life so difficult for yourself, as I constantly find out to my peril. It's not a huge exhibit, but it's not a huge animal. Anyways, yeah, starting to add some pallets. I haven't used a lot of these Indonesian building stuff, so I think post reptile house, when we come out the other side, it's a good opportunity to mix things up a little bit. Like, this area's got a very consistent visual language. You can see I'm using the same stuff over and over again, the same plants, the same rock textures. That wood on the wall is always the same color. The reptile house being so different is kind of like a break point between the first and second half of the zoo, in a way, is my excuse in my head. So I think post that I might start throwing in some more of the hut stuff and more of the thatch roof sort of stuff, because we haven't used that at all. And, you know, there's no point in getting a new pack and not utilizing the new pack materials. So I'd like to do a little something with that. Maybe we'll do like a gibbon street or something, like a street market with the gibbons. Still don't know what I'm doing for the sloth. I've had some ideas for the sloth. People on my Discord have given me some good suggestions as well. I'm still open to suggestions. Feel free to hit me up in the comment section down below. But yeah, just trying to make this area feel a little bit more... You know, Barry's going to have vending machines. Inevitably, they've been ramped up price-wise, but he's going to have vending machines lying around. Here, I want to do... I've not done it yet. I want to do like a little video. So basically, I like the idea as well that he would charge you more money for the reptile house. It would be like a separate thing. Because, of course, he's gonna nickel and dime you wherever Barry gets the chance. Bonkers Barry. He's going to try to get all your money. So this would be an extra thing that you get charged for. But if you notice, as you can see, it's the only way to access the rest of the zoo. So you'd have to pay to get to the rest of the zoo, never mind just the reptile house. Now, that wouldn't have been true in the past because that left-hand side, which is now cracked open, would have been open and traversable, but not anymore. My big problem with this build, however, this all went well. I can make this building feel a bit ramshackle. You know, God, I love ramshackle. Putting all these vines hanging down, plants everywhere, just really building up that kind of decrepit, abandoned kind of aesthetic that we've been talking about. And I really enjoy working with. It's my favourite aesthetic. And I've not got to do it in Elderwood, because Elderwood's, generally speaking, nice and shiny. I suppose we did it over at the radio station as well. But the crocodile, like the roof and the building and the side of the building, I can make look dirty and ruined. The crocodile is not an easy thing to ruin. I don't really have any ideas for it. Like, I don't think I can put cracks in it or decals. I could put a little bit of moss on it, maybe. It looks like it's made out of... It looks like a balloon, which makes it even harder to work with. Oh, there's a bit of pink there I didn't notice. But here's my way of making the roof a little bit messed up. You know, he's not going to properly fix the roof. He just slaps a corrugated metal sheet over the gap, and that's good enough. And one of them's fallen down, is lying across the bench. Another one's over there. It's going to have moss and grass growing all over it. This moss decal has changed my life. I never used to use it at all, and now it's all over the place. It just works. It just makes so much sense for the zoo. But yeah, just adding lots of little things, little cracks and little areas here. I completely forgot you could recolor the cracks, so I like having that. I like having those. Those in white looks really good. It does look like splintering plastic. And we'll have a different path inside. You know, I'm not big on buildings, so I've got some apprehension about the reptile house, it must be said. But we'll see how it goes. We're nearly there. Just chucking in random things. I've not done my signage yet. I don't know if I'm going to have time today. We'll get that done for the next video, probably. But yeah, as I said, just throwing in some more things there as well. I wanted this, again, to feel consistent. There's some parts of the zoo have to feel the same all the way along, so it actually feels like a zoo, basically. So I wanted to use the same font, the same text, the same colours, the same signage style for the water monitor habitat as we did for the fosses, and we'll do that for the entire thing. Red River hogs are an exception because they're outside, of course. And then gave up on that. I've not even finished with that. Let's go do something else. I'm very bouncy all over the place when it comes to my zoo designs. Like, I'll work on this and then this and then this. It's not like, let's do this bit, then let's do this bit, then let's do this bit. It's let's do this bit, a little tiny bit. Oh, let's do this bit, a little tiny bit. This was meant to be like, I don't know if it really worked out. It's meant to be sort of pond scum, I suppose. And that's what made me realize I don't want movement in my water. I want it to feel stagnant and like the moss is growing sort of on top of the water. It's not moss. Is it moss? You kind of get moss that grows on water. You'd call it pond scum anyway. It's like a bacterial goop, basically. That's my bacterial goop is what I'm saying. More ivy, beloved ivy. Having that absolutely bloody everywhere. Have it growing over the vending machines. I don't know if this place is ever going to be open to guests, but it would be useless. Like, there's just nothing here for them. They can't access anything. Everything's overgrown and covered. Just doing a little staff section here. Really nothing serious. I wouldn't expect Barry to have like a serious staff section, so it kind of gives me an excuse as well to not worry too much about this kind of thing. But a little hook section here for some of our tools. One of them's fallen down. We've got a little water cooler. Not a water cooler. Water tub. We've got a water tub. And just going to chain that up, generally speaking. Just giving that abandoned feel as much as possible. I kind of want some text going along here, maybe saying what the reptile house is called. I like the idea that at some point this would have been advertised to people on the boat as well. Like, you would see this as you come into the town. You would see the side of the reptile zoo. And you think, yeah, that looks good. I could go check out a reptile zoo. That looks cool beans. And you'd go check it out. You'd be like, wow, this is cool beans. That's what it would go like, in case you're curious. But we're nearly there. We've got some mesh there on the ground as well. Sticking in little bits of foliage. Just want everything to feel overgrown and uncontrolled and lost to nature, and cracking and depreciating over time. And that's really just all I'm pushing for here. Not much to say about it. I love these as well. What are they called? I've lost them now. Those little vines. I want like a proper crawling vine as well, but those are really cool. They're a little bit small, but they do look weedy and wrinkly and I don't know what the terms are. They look like they climb up things, which is cool. Like a proper climbing vine. It looks good though, doesn't it? Those hanging baskets, those hanging fern baskets like I added in the last update. I don't know if they're part of the DLC. I think they're part of the DLC. They're really, really good. They're fantastic. They look really good. I'm going to use those more often. And tree ferns. Always the tree ferns into the ground, because they are the only ferns we've got, really. The bird's nest feels ferny as well. Just setting that up so I'm ready to make my... that's going to be like a sign for the reptile house individually as well. Again, I wanted it to feel like the reptile house was first, and everything else kind of just... You know, maybe he made a reptile house, and then he went on holidays to Indonesia. It was like, whoa, I love Indonesia. Let's be obsessed about it. And then he kind of like spread out from there with the Indonesian style stuff. This is meant to be, I guess, mud in a way, like again floating muddy kind of texture. I'm not sure that works. We'll have to see how I feel about this. Blocking off this bit again, it's hard to know what to do with the side of the zoo in a way, but I just want to block that off because that's going to be the staff area for the water monitor, which was a very awkward thing. There's just no natural way to fit it in at all. And, God, this Elderwood is massive. The problem is I can build the zoo, but it's on a cliffside, so, like, every time I work on here, it's extending down the cliff, which means I need to go back to the cliff and go back to the coast and work on that area as well to make it look nice and pretty. I've committed myself. Elderwood is probably the last zoo I'm ever going to build. But, oh, we're done. There's my happy crocodile. Needs a name. Elderwood is probably the last build we'll ever make in this game, because I want to finish it. I want Elderwood to be 100% done, and given the size of the area that we're dealing with, that's obviously like a huge undertaking. And I just like the idea of throwing all the DLCs in different ways. I don't love the Halloween stuff we did in retrospect. I kind of think that was a bit of a mistake. This is a good mix of story and something that's not too over the top that it's not physically impossible for me to do, you know, rather than trying to build a haunted upside down castle. Anyways, with that done, let's hop in game and check out our exhibit in a little bit more detail and say hello to our water monitors. Right then, here we go. Side note, very quickly, if anyone knows how to fix this, whenever I load in Planet Zoo, it resets to 1920 by 1080 rather than 2560 1440. I have to do it every single time, and I forget every single time. This is like the first time I've ever remembered to change it. Anyways, so you enter, like so. You've entered. Hello, entrance. And you're walking along. Obviously, I need to do the science, as I say. I'm just a little bit pushed for time today. And there is our... I feel very short. Am I short? There is our reptile house. So there'll be a sign there. Advertising said reptile house. We've got a little staff section built up over there. That rock wall needs working on a little bit. This corner was really problematic. I just covered it in ivy because there wasn't like a smooth way to join it all together. I probably need to drop a pillar there, but I just threw tons of plants in that corner to hopefully make it work. But yeah, I think it looks pretty good actually. I do want to make the crocodile itself feel a little bit more destroyed if possible. I might have like a couple of teeth falling off. Maybe a little bit of ivy growing along it or something like that. I'm not totally sure quite yet. It's a hard thing to... Because it's so flat in coloration, it's really hard to make it feel natural in terms of destroying it. But we've got our overgrown little benches over here. And our overgrown vending machines down there. This will be the entrance. So you'll enter through its maw. Dodging the vines. You'll go inside. And then over here on the left, of course, this will be the water monitor habitat. So they can't get through there. And all I'm going to do is, I'm going to neaten this up, obviously, and we'll turn this into a proper tank, and it'll just be an empty tank. It'll have like an info sign for the water monitor, but it'll just be empty and barren. And then we can work on sort of the rest of the building. We can always extend this if need be. I don't think I'm going to make this huge, though. I think we might just do one more exhibit over there on the right-hand side, like a crocodile exhibit. Maybe two more in total, yeah? One there, one there, one there, and then you exit over here. That's probably what we'll end up doing. I don't want these to be big exhibits either. They should feel cramped and small and cruel in a way. I know that feels mean, and we'll find a way to make it work for the animals, but that should be how it feels, because that's... Man, I'm so happy about it. I love being able to build like this again, you know, just ruin everything. It makes me so happy. Anyways, And we move on. So this will obviously eventually be water monitor. It'll be monitor something. Monitor something. I don't know. And it'll sit there again. Really love these basket ferns. Really cool. Monitor mess. I don't know. Feel free to again leave suggestions for that. There's our water monitor sign over there. Letters, of course, tumbling off to the ground. The R, as you'll have seen, has fallen into the water over there, hanging down by the drain. And yeah, it's a pretty simple habitat, it must be said. The actual habitat was a very small part of the work, other than the rock work. As I say, this one will look better when we get to the other side. Like, this area over here is obviously very ugly on the far side of there. But other than that, I'm pretty happy with how it looks. I do really like that detail over there. I think that looks really effective. It looks how I wanted it to look. Gonna have to get rid of these decals. Didn't realize they could walk over them. So I might have to get rid of those. Maybe the same over there. Yeah, because you're just sitting on the moss. It was not my intention, it must be said. Yep, down you go. Good job, buddy. Let's zoom out a little bit. Yeah, the habitat itself is pretty chill. It's just a rocky slope with some foliage. Basically, I really limited my foliage. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. What are you? 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6 pieces of foliage in the actual habitat. There's our hanging rock wall at the side. Stack some redwoods behind it so it kind of blends in. And yeah, I don't really have much else to say. I guess this is pretty simple, pretty chill. Okay, thank you so much for joining me. Throw me a like down below if you enjoyed the build and you want to see more Planet Zoo and our destroyed tropical habitat. If we zoom out over here, how does it look? Yeah, it's nice because it kind of still feels like Elderwood. You know, I don't think it sticks out necessarily because I keep putting redwoods in. I keep putting the pines in. There's some different trees in there, sure. It definitely is a slightly different biome, but that happens in several places. You know, we've got light green there, we've got the orange over here, we've got the yellow over there. It just feels like a natural part of Elderwood. I do want to work on this eventually. I think it'll be sad to leave that undone. I put so much work into it. I think it's such a cool idea. But yeah, Elderwood is getting there. It's a chunky boy these days, to say the least. Also, want to get some height in here. We might raise up on the other side of the reptile house. Anywho, thank you for joining me. Cheers much as always. Bye-bye.
Houston, if you're ready, we'll maneuver. Reaching out.